If you have a medical plan where the employee is never sick, it's actually not a benefit to them. It's just a waste of money for the company. The biggest shock we've received was when our claims team was so excited that the whole department had to go and see because they saw a Louis Vuitton bag receipt. The benefit design itself, it represents the company's, or at least the big boss's way of thinking. Freedom comes with knowledge. If you have the freedom to play a piano, but you don't know how to play it, are you going to make music or is it just going to be a lot of noise? Why is it called flexible benefits? Because it meets the needs of the different generations, from Gen Z to a boomer. And that makes a difference because as an employee, they will feel valued. They will feel that this company is giving me more than the next company. And for that reason, they would stay. Skill sets, I believe, can either be trained or we can find a role that would fit a skill set, man. But we can't change attitudes. Employer benefits is really just that, right? It's really about valuing people. Benefits is more than just giving a medical cover.
Today's guest has spent over 20 years quietly redesigning how companies care for their people. Andrea Toh started out processing benefits claims part-time, and instead of just doing the job, she built software to fix it. That side project became a company, then it became an acquisition, and then a second act. In 2015, she co-founded Benefit Solutions, partly so that the team who built the technology with her could keep their jobs. And today, Benefit Solutions helps companies across Singapore and Malaysia move from one-size-fits-all benefits to flexible benefits. And I think today on the LinkedIn, I try to put hyper personalization, finally possible, and benefits that actually fit people's lives, whether you're single, raising kids, or caring for aging parents. But I think you could look at it from many different angles. Andrea, thank you so much for being here. It's a real honor. And maybe just how do you feel and why are you here today? Maybe tell me about your intention and accepting my invitation. And I'm grateful you're here.
I'm really honored to be here. Doing a podcast is something that's very new, very interesting to me. I think it's a good way for us to share what we have learned. We don't learn for ourselves alone, but also to share it with others. And hopefully, what we share would be able to create new opportunities, create new changes in the way things are, especially in the employee benefits market. I think there are a lot of things moving very quickly, especially in the Singapore market. Malaysia is also coming up and running very quickly. It's fast moving. So then there's lots to learn from the work that we have done before.
I introduced you with hyper personalization. I think there were a few suggestions for me on how to call the podcast. Stop paying benefits that nobody uses was one. From side project to a platform was another one. But what is the topic that you want to influence today? If you have very little time, what is the one idea you want to share?
I think it's important to have benefits that employees can engage with HR, with each other, as well as something that they will appreciate. They will use. The idea is to have benefits that they will actually use and appreciate. So whether is it to create a healthier lifestyle, whether is it to have benefits that will pay for their medical bills or their family's medical bills, or to have a better lifestyle, I always feel that benefits are only appreciated if the employees are able to use it. That's the key. So if you have a medical plan where the employee is never sick, it's actually not a benefit to them. It's just a waste of money for the company. And also, it's a waste of money because the amount of money is not invested in the employee. So I think that's where I really would like to see the companies moving to investing their money in benefits that will drive culture, drive the employees' engagement, drive the employees' belonging in the company, their culture of knowing that I want to stay here because I know the company values me.
When you started the software, actually, so back in the days, it was just to process claims. When did the personalization kicked in? When did you start doing this kind of selection of, okay, I want this?
Actually, claims is the one thing that all companies need to be done. Whether it's expense claims or medical claims or benefit claims, that's always the foundation of benefits, right? Money is being reimbursed to employee. That started first. And then as we moved along, we realized that we were losing clients because the company that I was helping was actually a broking company. It was an insurance broking company. So what happens is we're only doing insurance, but they don't do flags. They had no understanding of flags. So what happened was that their clients were moving to the bigger brokers that could provide flexible benefits, or they were using another vendor that understood or had a flex system. And back then, there were like only one or two. Very few people actually did flex benefits then because it was so new. So when we saw clients losing or leaving because of that, then that's when the two partners said, hey, come, let's go and find out more. So they asked me to come in full-time then because I was already in handling their claims. And during the claims, I actually built, I wouldn't even call it a software, a database house. Have you heard of Microsoft Access?
Yes.
So I actually built that platform for me to be able to enter claim, process claim, generate reports, everything through database access. So that's just for me to process claims and automate part of that process. So because I was doing that, then they asked me, because they see that I could understand tech, right? So they asked me to come in and meet other people who were doing flex, understand a bit more, go through the training for flexible benefits. And that's how we ended up building a flexible benefits system lah, together with another vendor. Yeah. So that's where we started first.
Okay, got it. And how far after you did the claims, like the basic claims one?
I did for 1 or 2 years because I was doing on part-time basis. I was a new mom back then. I didn't want to work full-time. So I was only doing part-time back then. And the company that I was helping, that booking, was actually, my mom was one of the partners. And that's why she asked me to come in. I think she felt that, wow, I've paid for your uni degree and all many years of education. And then you want to be a housewife? Asian parents, ah. I think she slowly tried to get me back into work, do part-time first, you can work from home. Then slowly she enticed me with this because she knows I'm also a system. I like systems and all that. So she asked me whether I want to come in and learn and do this. So I did all this on part-time basis. So when I came in full-time, then I started to invest more time and energy on building the flex system.
And the flex system was also on Access.
No. So that one was when I
No.
started. That was the first time I worked with developers.
Oh,
So I
okay.
understand how, but because I had the basic foundation knowledge of how system works, how the database relates with each other, how the forms work, how parameters are integrated. So kind of got that. So I was able to scope things out. I was able to understand how the enrollment works and then scope it out with the developer and build something from there lah. Yeah.
Got it. What's your message for people who have AI now? Because you had Access at the time, it was the tool you could use. Now with
use
AI available, what led you to use Access, and how do you see it translate to the new technologies? What do you say to younger, or maybe not younger, but people who are just starting in their journey with technology?
Oh, I think technology, wow, it's moved so much, right? But it keeps moving. And I think it's important to always leverage on the technology to automate processes, to improve on how things can be done. Yeah. Now AI, there's so many different forms of AI, right? It's quite hard not to use AI now. But there's actually how well we know how to use AI also makes a difference. We recently got the subscription for Claude AI for our company. And you can even see how the different team members use it. Some use it with such depth that they could create an online dashboard with clickable functions related to multiple Excels and all that. So it's complicated, right? But there are some that just use it as a chat. So even in AI, right, how much you can leverage on it is also how much you want to learn about it. Because there's a lot of YouTube and everything now. So it's a constant learning process for everyone. And I think that's very key. We must constantly be learning as we move along, especially on technology. So one of the meetings, we every month we have a team meeting, right? I always start with the meeting is, what have you learned in the last, everybody share what is the one thing that you have learned in the last 1 month since we met. Because everyone should be learning something new always. It cannot be 1 month I never learn anything. So it can be as simple as learning how to cook, right? Or it can be as simple as learning more a skill in coding for the developers, or even something at home I've learned about. I think one of them shared about learning about how to handle certain emotions. So everything is a learning process and we have to constantly grow. And I think that's very important for everyone.
So going back to the origin story, your company Pan Group at the time gets acquired in 2015. You could have walked away. You came back to the working life from your parents, right? You could have said, okay, now that's the time I can actually walk away. Instead, you co-founded Benefit Solutions. And I started to allude to it. The real reason was about people, not products. Can you share more of that story?
When I left, I actually left to take, my initial step away was to take a sabbatical of 1 year. I didn't intend to totally walk away from the previous company. I mean, we had shares and all that in the new company. So I was actually intending to just take a break for 1 year because I've not done that in the whole 10 years as an entrepreneur, right? When I walked away, I also realized that platform that we built, we had 4 staff working on that platform. So
Yep.
that 4 staff was dedicated. That means the vendor that we're working with actually had 4 staff dedicated to service our company. What happened was, if the new company didn't buy the IP, then what happens is these 4 would lose their jobs in time because they would slow down and they would move to their own platform. So that's when the owner of the vendor called me and spoke to me and said, if they don't buy the IP, is there something that we can do to help them to keep their jobs? At least 1 or 2 of them who he felt was very key players in building this platform, and they have dedicated a lot of their energy and time or their work life into building this platform. So That's when we talked about it. And I think at that point, I felt that it was important that we do that rather than I take that 1 year sabbatical, go back, and then these people lose their jobs, right? So I actually sold back my shares. I decided to come out, and then since they were not, and this was because they were already not buying. It's not that we snatched it out from under them, but it's because they already decided that it was not going to be bought. So therefore, we knew that this will happen. Or at least the people lose their jobs. So that's when we decided to, okay, let's take it out. Let's keep this software that's been built over so many years going. We improve on it. And then and the people who are trained, who has been working on this for so many years, they're so well trained, it's a waste of knowledge to throw that all away now. So that's why we started this lah. So we didn't go all out. I mean, we're not out there. We were not there to compete directly with the company that bought us. We were really there just to maintain and keep that software because we know that it's of value, and then to also definitely to ensure that all this development work continues with the team that has already been built for so many years.
It's a cool story. How many people are you today in Solutions Benefit?
We have about 10 to 14. Let me count. Yeah, I think about 11 of us.
So if we start simple, let's talk about the problem that you're solving. If you look at most companies in Singapore and Malaysia, what would you say means to offer benefits? What's the landscape looking for most people at the moment?
Now? Okay, what size? I guess it also depends. The size of the company matters also, right?
Tell me about the different sizes.
I mean, we have different plans, and the plans are actually meant to cater to the different sizes. So the small companies, the very standard is always, I just buy insurance, cover them for H&S, maybe outpatient. And then that's it lah.
H&S?
Hospitalization and outpatient medical cover.
Okay.
So usually that's the basic insurance cover or medical cover that would be provided, especially for Singapore companies. Yeah, that would usually be at least a hospitalization cover lah. Okay. As the company gets bigger, that's where they would start looking at providing maybe dental, optical, some form of a bit more flexibility on their claims, what items that employees can claim for. A lot of times these benefits are aligned with budget. Not so much what employee needs, but how much a company can afford to give, which is natural. I mean, we're all business owners, right? We know there's a fine balance of benefits and budget. And then as the bigger companies go, then you have beyond benefits, you have flexible benefits. Then they'll put in wellness, or they'll create events for employees to join, to be educated, or to look at how you can encourage healthy habits. So that's usually the bigger organization where they have a HR team that can help to engage employees throughout the year lah. Yeah. What we are trying to do is to also help SMEs. I mean, I always find that the employees in the SME sometimes feel like they are less covered or less better off because the company can't provide benefits that would truly benefit them. So what we really hope to do is to find that how to maximize the budget. We always feel that the amount that you pay for insurance, if it's not used, is it really worth it? Maybe look at the flexible benefit scheme. In Singapore, there's a MediShield plan. Maybe the employee doesn't even need medical insurance cover. They can use it for other things. If we sell it down, use it more for some lifestyle benefits like self-improvement causes, or maybe medical for their dependents, something that they would need to use, and the budget would still be spent, but it doesn't have to be that much more than what they're already putting in.
So it's not even related to the employees, to the talents. When a company or a provider designs a plan, what age do they design for? What is the average or the median they are choosing in order to develop the plan?
It's not really based on age. So you buy like insurance, right? It's a lump sum. It's based on number of employees, right? Your budget will be based on the number. If you have 5, you pay 5 times the amount. But every employee, I think for the SMEs or the smaller companies, some insurers will also charge based on age band per se. Yeah, so it could be, yes, you're right. Some of the older ones maybe cost more because they are a small company. They would work on the average budget per person. But ultimately, if they don't buy a outpatient plan, they would have a self-funded plan sometimes. Again, it goes back to whether the company deems that as valuable and whether there's a budget for it.
What you're telling me is there's no look at the employees in most companies, basically, like all the SMBs and all the companies who are not doing so well. When there's no flex benefits and it's one company policy in a large organization, how do they design the plans?
Okay. For larger companies, like those that has a bit more muscle to flex, or some has a bigger budget, right? They could put in a flexible benefit scheme.
They all do it? Or
no,
what's the percentage?
So there are 2 ways of doing a flex benefit scheme. One, of course, is where they could have a wallet, and then the employees can maybe choose out of 10 items to claim for. Right, and that 10 items could include holiday, could include fitness fees, or self-improvement, or maternity, and things like that. right? So that 10 to 15 items could be in the wallet for them to claim. Organizations that are big enough, when I say big enough, I also mean by numbers, because insurance, flexible benefits on insurance do require a bigger headcount for insurers to agree to allow that flexibility, right? So they could allow the employees, for example, for hospitalization plan, they can choose to be on a 1-bed private or a 4-bed or a 6-bedded. So they can choose the plan, and the flex dollars that come with that plan design is paid by company, right? So if they choose to downgrade to a lower plan, the difference will then go into the employee's wallet for them to claim. So they have more money to then claim from a flexible spending account. Yeah. Employees could have a few different benefits that they are allowed to flex. For example, they could say hospitalization, they could say term life or personal accident. These are all insurance plans that they can actually choose to upgrade or downgrade. Then the difference or the additional amount that is required could be paid by the employee or returned to the employee or earned by the employee, depending on the plans that they choose. Yeah. So there's full flexibility. So that's where there's full flexibility for the employees to select. But flexible benefits enrollment or the selections doesn't only apply to insurance plans. What I would like to also let the SMEs know is that flexible benefits can also be applied to a self-funded plan. So even if you have outpatient benefit, you can allow employees to upgrade or downgrade outpatient benefit plan designs. So there is flexibility on what they are able to claim for. So the flexible benefits, I always say, is something that if you can imagine it, you can work around. You can work a plan out of it. Yeah, that 10 items that you have, that you allow the employees to submit claims for or to drive your culture, should be related to what your company values in your employees or what you want the employees to value also. So like you want good health, then maybe you provide health screening. If you think that learning is important, self-improvement cost fees, right? Maybe you can even say what kind, right? If you think that it's good for them to take a break or to celebrate their birthdays, these are benefits that you would show that is valuable to the company and what you would like the employees to enjoy. It's culture, it drives culture in the company. Yeah. So benefits is more than just giving a medical cover. Yeah. And companies, I hope companies are able to see that, whether big or small.
Just to simplify and to look at one part of the market, which are the larger companies with deep pockets, but who don't have the flexible benefits. So what percentage do you think it is? The number of larger companies who have deep pockets for flexibility, but they don't decide to do flexibility, they do something like standard. How much percentage of the Malaysian companies and the Singaporean companies do you think it is? They could do flexible benefits, they just don't do it.
A lot of companies that do flex are usually the MNCs from that coming
Other places.
outside. Yes, that means their benefits start from overseas and then they bring it to Singapore. Local companies that have maybe very big ones like the schools, and where the employees are also more white collar staff, where they are able to understand and comprehend type of coverages that are provided. So it also depends on the industry the companies are in. So like the IT companies, or that they can have, I would say the IT companies, they can have flex, but unfortunately not many do. The banks tend to adopt flex more. So in the industry of bank, you see that there are actually quite a lot of banks that do adopt flexible benefits where they have the selections. Even the big universities, they do that also. Yeah.
So if I'm trying to force a path towards those people who do not have flexibility but have the money for it. So imagine they have more space to fund benefits, but they decide not to do flexible. So they impose a blanket benefits package to everyone. How is it designed usually? Is there one population in mind? Like, how would you say that it's done currently?
No, so they could have insurance, but they would have a different level of insurance cover for the different category of employees or different job grades. So then they just fix it. So everybody will have this. So usually the management could be 1-bed private, right? And then dependents are covered. Right, so for the administrative level, they have a 4-bed cover but no dependent cover. So the 4-bed plan has no option to increase the cover or include the dependents into the cover. So that's where there's no flex. They just fix, and the employees at that category are given that plan. That's all.
If you had to explain, you started to do it, by the way, you gave two options on the way to implement flexible benefits. But if you had to explain it to someone you never could explain the concept, there was no prior conversation, what do you say for people to get what it is?
Oh, in 30 seconds, is it?
Yeah, you don't have much time usually to explain stuff. What are the metaphors you use? I think you spoke about cafeteria benefits earlier. So is that the term?
That's how the Americans identify flex benefits plan. I mean, it's cafeteria because you pick what you want. So in a way, it gives a very clear idea of what a flex benefits is. If you ask me, I think flexible benefits allows employees to select the benefits that they feel are more important to them. And it will meet their family demographics and their needs. And that's where they will find that the company values them, their family. So it's a culture-driven kind of company where I think for me, when I talk about flexible benefits, right, I really look at it from a point of view of why is it called flexible benefits? It's flexible because it meets the needs of the different generations, right? From a Gen Z to a boomer. In the company, even if it's a small company, you could have the management who are the boomers, and then you could have the millennials and the Gen Zs who are new fresh grads coming in, right? So when you have flexible benefits, you allow the employees to find benefits that meet their needs at their life cycle, right? So of course, a boomer may need more medical cover, so they can select a higher cover. A Gen Z or a millennial may want more experiential benefits, right? Holidays. Everybody wants holidays, right? Buy additional leave. Give me the opportunity to buy leave so I can spend time with my family, go for holidays, personal time, things like that. And that makes a difference because as an employee, they will feel valued. They will feel that this company is giving me something more than the next company that doesn't have. And for that reason, they would stay. It's a staff retention tool also.
You were talking about earlier about the fact that a large company can afford flexible benefits usually. Is it the case for your platform or any company can use it?
Now, any company can. Yeah.
Okay.
Because we are modular, depending on what they require, we turn on the modules for that company. It's also modular by employee. So you could have five employees, maybe one have flex, one is just medical. They will see what's only relevant to them when they log in.
I don't know if that question that comes to me is what if, if you give people chance for immediate reward and long-term safety, they might be spending the money on things that are good for the short term, like immediate pleasure, immediate gratification, instead of preparing for their future. How do you counter that argument of maybe freedom is not good for everyone?
I think the word freedom is a very big word, but freedom comes with knowledge, right? You have full freedom to do something without the knowledge of how to use it wise, it's not going to help. I think an analogy that I've heard before, if you have the freedom to play a piano, but you don't know how to play it, are you going to make music or it's just going to be a lot of noise? It's not just about full freedom, but it's also about ensuring that what's catered to them, what the benefits provided has to be tailored, has to be according to what the company values, as well as what the employee wants. So it's a very fine balance.
What's the most surprising thing you've seen an employee use as part of the flexible benefits?
Oh, this story I tell many times already. The biggest shock we've received was when our claims team was so excited that the whole department had to go and see because they saw a Louis Vuitton bag receipt. Yeah. So one of the banks that we were administering for allowed employees to claim anything they wanted, as long as up to the available balance, of course. Yeah. So this employee, being a bank, a big budget, so they, I believe, a few $1,000s in their flexible spending account. So this employee submitted a Louis Vuitton receipt to claim. Yeah. So that was one of the highest price item we have seen coming in under benefits. Yeah.
Interesting. Do you extract data of everything that people use for benefits?
Yeah. So we have the data on the system. So that's the beauty of having a system too, right? The HRs have a purview of the utilization rates, what are the highest claim types, most common, most used claim types. Yeah. So there's visibility and there's something for them to help access in the coming year, whether they should increase, decrease, whether budget is sufficient or not. Yeah.
You're talking about the fact that it's not about spending more, it's about spending wisely. Are people understanding when you're coming to them with the platform? And how do you price the platform for companies?
We have a standard plan, which is on our website also. We have a starter plan, which is just 150 per year regardless of headcount. That's purely a panel arrangement. Then we have one that's including a pay and claim, or we call it the non-panel claims, where we do the adjudication using our AI, our Dojo AI. That one would be $3 per employee, per member per month. So that's our standard price plans. Then, of course, if you have the bigger companies, additional modules, then that's a customized plan. Yeah.
What's the percentage of the platform versus the cost of the employee benefit program? Do you present as a platform 1%, 10%, and more?
It's a license fee. So the fee includes everything in. It's a platform fee as well as the services that they are onboarding, whether is it the AI dojo, the AI claims processor or not.
Got it. So there's no commissions. I was wondering if, for instance, when we talk about HRMS, I can tell you, for instance, the payroll is 5 ringgit in Malaysia, but 5 ringgit taken in isolation means absolutely nothing. So if you put it as a percentage of the employee or the talent's salary, then it starts to be interesting, right? Someone is making 5,000 ringgit and you charge 5 ringgit of payroll costs. It's pretty cheap. It's 0.1%. So I don't know if you've made those calculations to see the percentage of the platform, which is the management of the program, versus the benefit program budget.
I've not done those numbers because it does vary depending on the company size, the budget and all that. So I have not specifically done a calculation on that.
When we talk about prevention, do you have any data on how many of your clients are using the prevention tools versus treatment, like post too late for prevention? I don't know how to call it, by the way.
I think majority of the smaller companies are still looking mainly at medical costs. Yeah, coverage. So the medical, the GP, the specialist, the dental, these three. These are usually the key claim benefits that are provided. Preventive is common, but it's usually when there's a bigger budget. So for example, if a company has $300, right? Let's say it's $300 per year for an employee. This 300 will be likely only GP, specialist, and dental. Or maybe not even dental, maybe just GP and specialist, just pure medical cover. If they have a budget of 500, then they could consider putting in things like optical and health screening. So it really depends on that budget amount, because you also don't want a case where a company gives $500 and then they have 20 items the employee can claim for. The employee is going to tell you it's not enough, right? You're not giving me enough budget. It has to be also fine-tuned based on the budget that they have. So preventive wise, it is coming up and coming in Singapore. I will tell you, in Singapore, it's pretty common to provide health screen. If not health screening, at least preventive. Like if they go for vaccinations and all that, it can be covered. But in Malaysia, it's still mainly a medical cover for the smaller companies.
Okay. Prevention, is it part of the role of your solution or your company to educate of the importance of prevention and to show basically the trade-offs and what's the cost of not doing prevention? Are you doing this kind of education work, or you're focusing on the tech?
We are focusing on tech. We are a software house. So we mainly, but we do connect partners that could help. We have a gamification partner. So they do the step challenge part of it, where employees can, if they do meet the number of steps a day, or if they are able to do like maybe sleep enough hours a day, things like that, then they get certain points, right? Yeah. So that part of it is done by another partner. So that's healthy living lah. That's really trying to change the habits. Then we also work with TPAs where they can give on-site talk workshops or talks about stop smoking, weight loss, this kind of thing. So we work with partners for all these.
Got it. And when you explain the concept of your solution, but also when you pitch the platform itself, what are the key arguments that help educate or make it compelling, basically? What about the concept of flexible benefits? What's the way that people resonate the most with the concept and change their mind? Because it's a matter of changing mindsets, right?
Yes.
How do you get there?
So it's a lot of education. I think if you have spoken to Jonathan for Malaysia side, because flexible benefits is really not very well known yet in Malaysia. So he spends a lot of time educating what flexible benefits is and how it will be helpful to the HRs for them to implement it in their company. So the education comes first. Whereas in Singapore, 20 years, right? I started 20 years ago. That's when flexible benefits first came in. There has already been quite a lot of education, and companies here are a bit more familiar, I would say pretty familiar with flexible benefits. So usually when I go in to a meeting or a presentation to a prospect, is usually about our system capabilities, about how it can help them to self-manage the benefit rules for flexible benefits, and how employees can be able to access that information and view the selection options easily. It's more the user interface, how intuitive it is, how convenient the employees can have everything in their handphone easily accessed. Yeah, so it's more that when it comes to system.
Got it. You spoke earlier about culture and how the benefits have an impact on culture. Can you unpack what it means and how it does design culture through benefits?
I think in every company there's a culture lah. I've also always said before, the benefit design itself it represents the company's, or at least the big boss's way of thinking. So whether is it a big boss or a management thinking, right? So for example, when we, like the bank I mentioned that allowed the Louis Vuitton receipts and all that, right? They are more American, more open-minded. We talk about freedom. Yeah, that's where we talk about, anything you want, you can claim. That's freedom, right? But we've also had Japanese companies before. When I go in and do consultation for a Japanese company, I cannot go in with the kind of plan design. They were like, huh? But they will claim the wrong thing. And then later on, so they are very paternalistic. The design that we had to come up with at the end and that was approved was a flex benefits design. But although they are given a wallet with a big lump sum that they can claim for and maybe 20 items, every item had a sublimit. So there was control even in some form on the flexible benefits, but they can say that I give flexible benefits. Firstly, culture is it will be seen in the benefits that are given to the employees. Employees will know. And on top of that, the items that you give or the company gives is also a representation of what the company values. So if a company says that it's important for employees to have work-life balance, I want to ensure that they spend enough time with their family. Some simple things, like for example, allowing them to claim for a birthday dinner where the company is paying for to show appreciation for this employee on her birthday. That means the company knows exactly when the employee's birthday is also, right? Secondly, if they allow employees to go on a holiday and pay for the whole family after a certain, maybe, okay, so family, usually holidays, we put a lump sum to it. We don't want them to use all and then also no medical cover, right? So maybe up to $500 you can claim for holidays, right? Something like that. There's a sublimit. Yeah, but even then, it shows that the company wants the employees to go and take time off and have a good time. Yeah, but come back. So you work hard, you play hard. Yeah. So a company that values only want to make sure that employees are not sick, right? Medical, dental, maybe they will give maternity, health screening, all medical benefits. It really does represent what the company culture is when we roll out this kind of benefits. When you do consultation, we can already tell by talking to the HRs and the business owners what they value. Then we kind of know that, okay, we can propose, but to get approval for a different something that's not what they value is very difficult. So we try to propose something that's similar, but maybe in a slightly different form. So for example, if a company that does value medical, we'll tell them, okay, we fix the medical, we give maybe $500. But how about you allow the employees to opt in to cover their dependents, but they pay a bit more, something like that. So it's still medical, it caps the budget a bit, right? It controls certain costs, and then it allows the company to at least know what's the expectation on costs for the following year because it's capped.
How do you implement the benefit solution? It's a new platform, right? But you're talking about processes as well. So it means that you need to design the plans, you need to understand how it works. So it's not just about toggling or setting limits. It's about understanding those consequences as have impact on culture and how employees will feel having the different stakeholders mapping and every need addressed, or at least understanding which ones you address, which one you don't address. How do you do it as a process, as an organization, bringing this new world to organizations?
I think it starts at the prospect meetings. It doesn't start only after they have appointed us as to be their provider, right? But it actually starts even at prospecting level because when we speak to them for the very first time, we understand what their current benefits are. And then for us to present to them, we will also need to understand what they would like to achieve, right? Why are they looking for a new provider or looking for a provider? Is it purely administrative? Are they looking to provide benefits that are beyond insurance? Or are they looking to have a totally different plan design to meet the needs of the employees, right? Because they will have heard feedback. And sometimes they say, some companies, they say, employees has been complaining this is not enough, or they want this benefit more. So you can tell from what the HR tells us on where they are. So it starts from there. Then from there, we'll also give them examples of how we can help them. Let's say if they appoint us, and then when they appoint us, then that's where we have to dig deeper. Let's say where the budget comes in, because they won't share with us budget until they appoint us. So once we know the budget, then we can put a better plan design into place for them to get approval for. It always goes up to management unless you're talking to a business owner already.
Got it. So the education starts during the discovery process, or the change management starts at that point. I think you talked about one tension between different types of benefit plans. There was the paternalistic control versus the freedom. Are there other tensions that you can find into this area of HR? It's always a balancing act, everything we do in life. We saw one axis, which is the paternalistic control versus freedom. Are there others, or you think that's the main one?
I think cost is actually the biggest one.
Cost.
Yeah, cost is always the biggest one. I mean, we have companies that say, can you do consultation? Can you do that? Can you help with that? I say, yeah, I can. But at the end of the day, we know it's going to come down to the budget, right? So we work with that first. And I don't want to take consultation fees and do everything and then realize that, it comes down to budget. I can't do anything if the budget doesn't move, right? Yeah. If I already know the budget, then I may not even need to do a consult. I may not need to do a focus group to understand what the employees want or that. I can already look at data. If you got data, you got the budget, I can do something already. To me, budget is actually the biggest. If we have clarity and we know what we are working with, then we go to the next level, which is the culture. Yeah. So culture is actually the second one. Then of course, how do we communicate that to employees? So it's a few different levels lah. Yeah, of implementation and the plan design. Can you communicate the plans easily to the employees? Because if you can't, then we shouldn't be proposing a complicated flex plan either, right? Yeah, because if not, they also won't understand and they will not appreciate it. Yeah, so all these are the multiple levels of challenges that we face in implementation. Yeah.
I'm actually, let's stay with this one. I was going to ask you actually on the biases that humans have, the fact that we cannot process. For instance, you cannot process too many options. If you see a menu with 200 pages and like you get
Yeah,
lost and it's
so
like, okay,
true.
people get paralyzed. So how do you address that problem of humans needing 3 options and the middle one is usually the one we pick?
The company firstly decides the default cover. Number of options. Okay, so we have different variations, right? Firstly, I think the first question is how many benefits do we want to allow them to select? Is it only hospitalization? Do you want to include the term life? Do you want to include leave? Do you want to include outpatient? Also things like that. So what are the different plans that we want them to select for? Then the other variation or the multiple options that they have is within this hospitalization plan, how many options can they choose? Can they choose 6 different ward types or maybe only 2? These are all the permutations that we see lah. And I will leave budget out of it lah, because that's always the one thing. But let's leave budget out of it to make it easy for the employees to understand. Medical is usually the first basic plan because that's usually where they can estimate or know what their employee or what themselves or their family will need, right? They can compare to their shield plans in Singapore or any other medical cover that they may have, and then they can make a decision from there. So usually medical plans are the most commonly flexed benefit. Okay, hospitalization, maybe outpatient, dental. Then the company can say, do I want to include health screening into that option? Do I want to include annual leave into that option? That again goes back to whether they value that, whether they want to ensure that employees have a bit more, one or two more options beyond the medical. I would normally say don't go beyond 5 benefits because then it gets a bit too much information to process, like you said. But these are usually the common ones. Yeah.
And so the platform is you basically give the menu of benefits and then the self-discovery about myself, like I'm taking myself as an example. I would do my own self-discovery, right? So I have my own understanding of myself. Then I come with that understanding to the platform and I choose with an understanding of myself. You're not doing helping people do the self-discovery. Thinking about the life coach, for instance, it's a different industry, but you tend to say, okay, what are my goals? Where do I want to do? And then you come to different menus like yours, and then you can choose with a more agency, basically, because people tend to act without too much thinking about what they do. So that's why we end up doing the default to cognitive biases, where it's only a few solutions that we can process because we don't know what we're looking for. So we try to make sense of the information in front of us.
No lah, it doesn't get to that level lah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's usually around what they need for that year. So it's something they can select every year. So they just have to look at the immediate this 1 year, what would be suitable for me.
Can you tell us about the different stakeholders? Because you come from a broker. Now you're talking about a software as a service. So as a platform working with brokers, there are insurance providers, there are the step counting challenges. Can you tell us about the ecosystem around your platform so that we understand how it all works? And maybe how do you do to plug all those actors on the same platform or on the same ecosystem layer, technological layer?
I think that's the beauty of technology, how all different platforms can come together. So our platform has the standard modules like, the employee benefits on flexible enrollment, the claims and rewards and campaigning, all that is within our portal. But we don't intend to build, for example, a panel network. So we integrate with the panel network so that we still can also provide cashless visits for employees at the panel doctors. So we work with different panel providers in Singapore and Malaysia. Then we plug in the insurers, where in Singapore we allow employees to submit insurance claims through our portal also. we actually integrate with all these different providers, even the gamification one, or either via API or via SFTP. We also do integrations with even HRIS. So like a big company, HRs, rather than we providing us the daily updates on the employee census data on a daily basis, right? We can do it via SFTP where the data is automated. So our system will automate, it will upload, process it all automatically on a daily basis rather than to use a human to go in and take the file, upload into the system and then press button. No. So we automate the whole process. So we can do single sign-on where employees don't have to log in 2 times. That means they log into HRS, they come into our portal. These are all different integration technologies that we have done and we continue to explore lah. So recently we also explored the different form of single sign-on with one of the providers that we have. Yeah, so we are also looking, now we're currently building a OTA because SMS sometimes don't go through, emails are very laggy. So we are also building our own mobile app that has a OTP authenticator. So it works very much like a bank, things like that. So we continue to enhance as we learn and we understand the needs of the clients that we have. So they ask, oh, can you do this? Can you do that? Yeah. So then we will look at ways of how we can do it or implement it.
I was going to ask you about AI more for the product that shows to your clients. So are there AI functionalities? How are you using AI within the company to ship products faster or to improve your processes? It's the big theme. I don't want to make the podcast about AI. Everyone is talking about it, so it's getting boring. But can you tell us about your own learnings, both internally to improve your operations and towards your clients?
Okay, we are a software house. I've always been quite stubborn about it, and I would say I'm not going to go into employee servicing because I've been there, done that, and I don't want to do it again, right? And therefore, I've always focused on being a software house. But with the market moving again, we learn and we have to move with the market now. So we've started doing claims adjudication, and that's where I said I will only do it if I have an AI engine that actually does adjudication, can do the verification. So I only need to.
Yeah. What is adjudication before we continue because I'm lost?
That means the verification of the claim. Previously, we will need someone to approve or reject a claim. They will check whether this is something that's according to the client rules. And with flexible benefits, every client can have a different set of rules, right? Unlike insurance where it's quite standard, but with flexible benefits, for example, if you have holiday, some will say, oh, you only can claim for air ticket, you cannot claim hotel, but another company say maybe you can claim for all. So the rules for flex differs from client to client. We will only provide this service if we have an AI engine that can do the claims verification process. If not, every client that comes in, you may see the rules may be assumed, without checking. New stuff comes in, we have to train all over again. So by putting in the AI, it reduces that. I only need to teach the AI one time. And the AI improves with the more claims we process, reducing the need for me to grow our claims team. So we implemented that last year. Actually, I only got one claim staff until now, and she mainly updates the rules, check any of the claims that were not processed by the AI. Yeah, and then she does the reporting. So it's very much reduced load lah, and service levels are definitely way better because of that. And also, we are looking to use AI for our chatbots, right? That's been around in the market for a while already. So AI can also be used for our chatbots, and I think it's become way better since then. Yeah, we are even looking at how we can use AI for dashboards. So now dashboards are pretty steady. We were talking about, is there a way we can allow HR to ask a question for the dashboards to show a result? Yeah, things like that. We haven't figured that one out. That's really just brainstorming. Yeah, but that was quite an interesting idea. Don't know whether it can be done or not, but let's see. I think now it's everything is a possible. It's a possibility. Yeah. So that's on the system, but of course, processes wise, I mentioned we've recently subscribed to Claude AI. So that has helped loads, in the team also. Whether is it the developers or the operational side. A lot of us use the AI in our work. We want to do comparison of 2 files. We want to do delete codes for certain part of the system. Claude AI can help.
It's always interesting with AI to think about the fact that software houses could be replaced. It's always the game of, oh yeah, we don't need HRMS or now yours. We usually have compliance as a moat. You have data as a moat. You have different reasons why using a software house, as you say, is useful versus creating your own. I'm imagining, I'll just make some assumptions also to illustrate the question, but I imagine all the connections to all the different stakeholders that you have within your platform are going to make it hard for others to recreate because you need to basically connect to many players. I guess the AI data in order to do the adjudication. So what are the key things that make it very hard to replace a product like yours?
I think the constant growth. We cannot be stagnant. And that's why we always look at how we can improve our modules. Every year we add on features and modules to our system, and it's usually aligned with what the client has asked before. So like this year, we are doing the authenticator. We have a broker module coming up. We look at different areas to keep improving on, to build on, and we turn around very fast because my team, like the team that we have now, is very long. I mean, one of our key tech person is since my previous company. The team that we saved is still with us. So they are so familiar with employee benefits. I don't have to tell them what does underwriting mean, what does GHS mean. They are so in tune with the industry knowledge already. When we scope out, things can turn around within months. The team definitely plays a very big part. That's why I always tell companies it's very important that you all value the employees because they are the ones that will bring our company to the next level, especially for smaller companies. Even more, we need to show them that they are important. Yeah, they matter. Because if we keep staff and we keep the good staff and they really take ownership of the work that they do, actually there's so much that can be done. Yeah, quickly and efficiently too.
I find you enthusiastic, and that's actually one of the questions I wanted to ask you. You've been in this industry for 20 years, something like this. What keeps you going? Why are you still excited? Your voice just accelerated and you started speaking a bit louder. Why? Or like it's been a while. Weren't you bored, or why don't you say, okay, that's done, I'm done?
Okay, firstly, technology. I think one of the reasons why I love software is because actually I call my developers magicians. I always call you all like magicians because when I ask for something, right, they were like, no, 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 no. Then like discuss, okay, can. Then they will come out with it. So it's like they are creating something that I can dream of. It's like if we can think about it, we can build it together. And I find that so amazing with software, right? It's just a matter of how long it's going to take and how are we going to do it. And I find employee benefits something that's quite pretty close to my heart because it's to deal with people. And the same reason why we started this company is to help to keep our staff that we value. Employee benefits is really just that, right? It's really about valuing people. It's really putting people in places where they can shine, they can grow, they can build their confidence, and they can provide for their families. And we need to ensure as employers that they know that they are safe working with us. And I think that's very important. Yeah.
It's the second time you talk about the if you can dream it, you can build it. You first talked about it in the context of benefits.
Yeah.
Now you just did. So there's the magician archetype in you.
It's really true. And I think because I've always enjoyed creating things. So I like to sew. I like craft. I like to sew because if I can think of a dress and I can draft it and I can sew it, it's like creating something that I can imagine. And I think that's the same interest that I bring into software, right? But I don't build it myself because I can't code, but I have a great team that can. So as long as I can dream it, they can do it.
What about AI now? You could code. You don't need software developers anymore for everything.
No, but I find that with AI, I can't tell whether the code is correct or not.
Okay.
So I give them the tool, and that's why I felt that the Claude AI code module is amazing because it gives them the ability to see whether the code can actually work before they put it into the system, right?
Maybe one question on how you lead. How did you recruit your team, the ones after the ones you took from the previous company? What do you look for in people when you hire, and how do you lead your team? Because you have more awareness than most on what people need, because you're always thinking about employee benefits and how to. So how does it impact the way you lead people?
To be honest, when we hire, we can only tell so much through an interview process or even through referrals. Through the referrals and talking to people who have worked with them before, it gives us an idea of how responsible the person is. I think taking the ownership, being responsible is very important to me. That already shows the integrity of the person.
And
skill sets, I believe, can either be trained or we can find a role that would fit a skill set, right? But we can't change attitudes. Very hard to change attitudes, but skills can be learned. Yeah. So that's actually the first priority to me. So in one of my most recent hiring was of our ops guy. I remember him because when I first spoke to him, I actually had a posting for a position, I think something like 3 years ago. He was one of the interviewees that I interviewed. And I actually offered him. I thought he was pretty good fit. I actually offered him the role. But I remembered he turned it down. But the reason why he turned it down was not about pay or anything, but because he was currently in a company where he was leading the team. And he felt that if he were to take on this, it would mean that the team that he was leading would be left in the lurch because he was like the one holding everybody up. So he decided to decline. And I always remember him for that. So in the recent run, when we were looking for ops manager, right, his name came around again, but not by his application, but through another colleague of ours. when his name came out, I'm like, oh wow, actually he might be a good fit. So we finally hired him, and true enough it's all attitude. It's all about whether they take responsibility and ownership and how they look at the company as a team. You know, we are one big team. We don't leave anybody behind. We help and we support each other. I find that he's such a very good fit for us. He's still learning. So I would say that his skill sets are not a perfect fit. He doesn't understand flexible benefits, doesn't understand medical underwriting and things like that. Insurance itself is also a bit new to him. So he's got a lot to learn, but he's taking it in his stride, challenging as it is. Yeah, but you can see that he tries. He's really trying to support the team, making sure that everybody is, or at least the people reporting to him is also being supported by him. Then I think that's the key lah. That's the most important part of any new staff or anybody on the team.
What advice would you have? So maybe if let's say that someone is listening to you on the way to the work and they just need to remember one action you would recommend, one action you would suggest, one thing to start on employee benefits, what would you recommend? And it could be, I'll give you examples. Ask 5 employees what they would want as employee benefits, maybe pull last year's utilization reports, map your workforce by life stages. What would be your recommendation?
Oh, you mean the HR who's looking at the employee benefits, is it?
Yeah, they just heard you. They don't know what to do next. What would be the immediate action you recommend?
Oh,
High leverage. Call you. Sounds good.
I think anybody is looking at employee benefits needs to know what the employee wants. You need to understand what the employee's needs are. So once you know that, then you can map it to your budget. If you're from a big company, then of course the best way is look at demographics, right? What are the different generation of employees you have? Because it kind of gives you an idea of what kind of benefits they will already appreciate. Then look at your budget and then we can work something out with that. But I think to be able to give benefits, you need to understand before you can design one. Yeah.
Should you get buy-in from the C-suite before you do that? Because if you start asking questions and then people are like, oh, you're going to change the benefits and you don't do it, it's pretty horrible, no?
Oh, but you can't change the benefits until you get a C-suite's approval. I also tell HRs that, yes, you can do all these benefits, but the main category or group of employees that you need to take care of are the C-suite's benefits. So when you look across those, like the big companies, right, or even small ones, right, let's say you're talking about 50 head count or 100 head count, right, you will roughly know what employees want, but actually the one that you really need to take care of, get the data for the C-suites. You need to know how much they're incurring and whether the new plan you're putting in is sufficient for them, right? Because you're going to put in a plan that's not sufficient for them, they'll tell you to scrap the whole thing because they're not going to take it because their own benefits are worse off, right? So you may have to grandfather the plans, maybe give them special coverage for certain medical conditions that they may have. A higher budget or increased budget may need to be catered for that group if you want to get approval for the plan design. Yeah, so that's usually one of the considerations that we take into when we are also proposing a plan design. It's not just everybody else. It's actually this group that's approving your plan that needs to have a good coverage or something that's equivalent or better. Yeah.
And how to start the conversation with my CEO? I want flexible benefits, or we want flexible benefits. How do I start this conversation in a way that will maximize success? Okay, data. What kind of data?
So you need to know what's your utilization, how much the budget is. You're talking to management, they are going to look at numbers. That's the key, right? What's the numbers that you're looking at now? What kind of plan design? How much are you looking at increase? And then look at your FIRE plan, right? If you don't have a change, what's your FIRE growth? Including your staff retention, how much are you going to incur on staff on hiring if you don't put in a good benefits plan design? We kind of have to get all that data in before you can get approval to maybe even change the plan design. But whatever you propose, you must know roughly what kind of plan you want because that's going to be a budget that you propose and then you cannot change it anymore, right? Once you say, okay, very hard, you're going to get a higher budget, right? Yeah, so you got to get all your data in place first before you go to the management.
Have you productized those steps? Meaning it doesn't have to be inside the platform, but it could be content that you have online. Is there a way to find this content? Because basically what I see when you talk about those things, I see different spreadsheets that you could give. Yeah.
But okay. To be honest, I don't have a fixed template. I usually work with what they give me. And then because some data is a lot, some is summarized. So I really work with what they provide. I don't have a template that. Yeah, but I have a templated process around it. Yeah, but not a specific document per se.
So again, call Andrea. We call you and your team, and then we will have access to the template.
Yes.
So just to find you, I saw you have a LinkedIn. You have benefitsolutions.com. Anywhere else we can see your work?
Website, LinkedIn. Yeah, I think that those are the 2 key ones. Facebook is a repetition of what's on LinkedIn.
On LinkedIn. Okay, so LinkedIn. My main takeaway is I would love to see the spreadsheets. I know you don't have to have templates, but and I think that's one of the things we talked about with Jonathan when we do events. to give people things in the room that they can work with, maybe even some homework before the sessions. But yeah, to get people started on this, and maybe a custom GPT or some kind of AI tool that you can play with. It doesn't have to be productized. It could be just a prototype. But I think the topics we touch are very interesting, and hopefully more people get to hear about it and implement.
Yeah, but actually when I do a simple like a workshop to teach people about flexible benefits, I start very simple things. For example, I will do a simple online quiz, right, to ask them to think about what kind of benefits you would like.
Me personally.
Yes, it starts with that because, and especially if I'm training or talking to a group of financial advisors or brokers, right? The question is, can you think of the benefit design? Because if you cannot, then how do you propose it? So it starts with what in the market, how do you envision the benefits should be? So it starts with simple things like what are benefits beyond insurance that you would like? Beyond medical, beyond insurance, what else would you like as an employee? What do you think?
I think about plenty of things that are not in there. Like I would like
For
massage.
example. Yeah.
I started my career at Google, so I was a bit too lucky, and so I've been missing
very
my
blessed
benefits from
already.
the beginning. Yeah. It's been horrible every single time. Yeah. I want a massage chair in the office, and I would like massage booths and get massage every day. I'm very tense. That's what I would like.
Yeah, so some companies do provide that. Yeah, it's part of
Don't
the
tell me.
items.
I want to stay for in brio. Don't tell me about the massage elsewhere. Cool,
Yeah.
Andrea. I really appreciated our conversation, and I hope I see you soon in Singapore. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks, buddy.